Good afternoon, everyone. Live from Silicon Valley, California. This is Success Sadhana. My name is JM, and I welcome you all to our program today, where we'll continue the discussion on spiritual intelligence from 24 gurus. This is the second part, as we do have Shweka on Zoom, and we have got a few members on Facebook who are live. So thank you everyone for joining. So as some of you may know, that we do have Vaish, who is on a spiritual trip to Europe. He'll be visiting UK, Italy, and other places. But he has encouraged us to continue to meet and continue to keep the transcendental vibration going. So thank you for joining. So what we'll do, as always, we'll take a short breathing exercise. And after that, we will be going through a few slides, which Vaish has previously shared. Thanks, Linda, for joining. Happy Friday. I was just mentioning that Vaish is on a spiritual trip to Europe, but he has encouraged us to meet. So thank you for joining to keep the transcendental vibration going. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll do a little mantra meditation so that we can be centered, so that we can take advantage of this opportunity to have some spiritual discussion. So please sit up a little straight than a moment ago. And please close your eyes. And take a deeper breath than what you normally do. You can have your palm either facing up or straight. And focus on your breath. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. You can keep aside all your deadlines which is coming up later today afternoon, or all your plans for the weekend. They may come back to you maybe after an hour. But for now, just be with your breath. And let's be grateful that we have this oxygen which is sustaining us. And let's use the power of our attention to relax our body. As Vaish says, the most important asset we have is attention. And we can choose to focus on what we like. If we focus on our attention on mode of goodness, then we will be upgraded, or the consciousness will be upgraded to goodness. If we focus on passion, then we'll anchor for more and more. And ignorance will just be dull. So let's use our attention and focus on our feet and ask the feet to relax. Keep taking deep breaths. And now ask your legs to relax. Ask your hip, your wrist, your hand, your arms, all of them to relax. Ask your stomach, your chest, your shoulder to relax. As you ask them to relax, you can feel the muscle, the stress getting relieved from the muscles relaxing, and the tension goes away. Ask your neck, your chin, your eyes, your eyebrows, all of them to relax. Ask your forehead and your head to relax. Continue to take the deep breaths. And now, if you would like, please join me in chanting few mantras. We'll chant the Om mantra. We'll take deep breaths and then we'll chant. Deep breath in. Om. Deep breath in. Om. Deep breath in. Om. Deep breath in. Deep breath in. Deep breath in. Please feel the vibration of the mantra in your heart region, in your face. And let's be grateful for this opportunity to do mantra meditation today. Will you rub your hands, open your eyes, and come back to the Zoom room. Thanks, Charles. Thanks for joining. Linda, Manu, thanks for joining today. And we do have a few members on Facebook who are also with us today. So as I was mentioning, Baish, he's on a 3-week trip to Europe. But he has encouraged us to continue to meet and keep the transcendental vibration going. So we'll we'll continue the discussion on spiritual intelligence from 24 gurus. We'll start with a quick recap And then we'll look at other gurus, which Avadhuta Brahmana, the gentle sage, found in and around the forest. Let me share my screen. We'll get started. Okay. I hope you can see my screen. So as we discussed last week, the purpose of the world is to refine ourselves, refine our consciousness. So whatever is happening to us is meant to make us better. So we should use the spiritual intelligence we have. You should use it deliberately to perceive the lesson in everything that happens to us. It's very similar to like how you go to a hospital or a gym, where you might be subjected to maybe painful injection, or being given bitter medicine, or asked to lift weights, which may not be very pleasant. But we know that each of those actions, they are for our betterment. It's to make us more healthy. And we should see Supreme's hand in every situation. So Supreme has put together these different courses so that we can go through them and refine ourselves and upgrade our consciousness. So this lesson is from ancient wisdom literature called Srimad Bhagavatam, where there is a story of a king who was wandering around a forest, and he came across a very gentle sage. And when he had a conversation with the sage, he was really impressed with the depth of his knowledge and how practical realizations he was sharing. And he was quite perplexed. How did you learn all this? Then the sage said, whose name was Avadhuta Brahman, he said that I've got 24 gurus around me who have helped me teach all these lessons. The king inquired who they are, and he started going through all the gurus or teachers he found in the nature and around that helped him gather all those knowledge. So those 24 gurus, they are in different categories, 5 elements, which is earth, water, fire, air, and ether, which we went through last time. It also includes astral bodies like sun, moon, ocean, flies and insects like moth, honeybee, spider, wasp, birds like pigeon, hawk, and animals like python, elephant, deer, fish, snake, and human beings. So we went through earth, which teaches us art of tolerance, despite humans and other living entities greedily consuming earth. It's still tolerant and keeps giving without any expectation in return. Like that, earth teaches us to be tolerant at different levels. We should be tolerant of our body, mind, and ego. So body, whenever we feel heat in summer or cold in winter, we should tolerate it. Mind, whether we get happiness or distress, we should tolerate it. And ego, which is where we get respect or we are humiliated, we should tolerate it. How should we tolerate? Just with the understanding that all of them, whether heat, cold, happiness, distress, respect, or humiliation, all of them are temporary in nature. So they have come on their own accord, and they will go away soon on their own accord. And definitely the wisdom literature do not ask us to be a doormat and just let others take advantage of us. But at the same time, instead of being reactive, we should respond to everything which comes our way by knowing that one, all these are temporary. Second, knowing that there is a higher plan, a superior plan behind all this, and all the other living entities, they are also pure consciousness who are being subject to three modes of material nature, because of which they are acting the way they are. So, Mahatma Gandhi said, "Hate the sin, not the sinner." Famous quote from him. And part of earth are mountains and trees. Mountains teach us art of dedication, which is mountains are dedicated for the welfare of others. Mountains give stream, rivers, trees, fruits, plants, so that so many living entities can live. It sustains so many living entities, and it keeps giving. And similarly, transcendentalists, they dedicate their life to serve others, because they know the purpose of life is refinement in service of loving exchange with others, so that they can share the gifts they have received in their life with others. And similarly, trees, they teach us the art of selfless service, whether through fruits and roots and leaves, everything that tree has, other living entities eat them, sustain on them. And even wood, it gives wood to build houses and other things. So every part of tree is there to serve others. Second is air. Air teaches the art of detachment. So air goes everywhere. It goes in buildings, houses, mountains, offices, wherever, but it doesn't think that belongs to mind. It doesn't stay anywhere. It keeps moving on. It doesn't get entangled anywhere. So that way, we should also know that whatever we have in this world, whatever we get, we have to leave them eventually. So let's not get entangled. Let's use that for our refinement, but not get entangled by them. So spiritualists are not attached to anything. They live to serve others. Wind, wherever it goes, it carries things, but it's not attached to it. For example, if the wind blows through a waterfall, it carries the water droplets, but then it doesn't hold on to the water droplets as it goes through, and it passes on the cool breeze to the other living entities. It passes on the water vapors to the nearby plants so that they can grow. So it gives whatever it gets to others. Similarly, when the air passes through the garden, it carries the aroma, the smell, the sweet smell, and it passes on to other living entities who can feel nourished through the sweet smell. And when it passes through the fire, it carries the smoke and hot air, heat with it, and it then passes on to others. So it doesn't hold on to whatever it gets. It carries it, but it's not attached to it. Wind also teaches us to be fearless. So it can go on mountains or skyscrapers, but it's not afraid. It just goes on doing its duty of being flowing around and giving oxygen to all the living entities. Likewise, spiritual practices teach us to be fearless as well. How does it teach us to be fearless? With the knowledge that everything is temporary, leads us to fearlessness. For example, there is a festival in India called Holi, where they spray different colors, dry color powders, or even wet colors on each other on that day. So on that day, everyone wears old clothes so that they know that their clothes will be full of colors and they may not be able to use it again. So given they have put on old clothes, we are not fearful of that cloth getting dirty, because we know this old cloth is old, and this dress is old, this shirt is old, and we will be throwing it after the day when the festival is over. So we are fearless in letting any stain. But at the same time, if you have an office dress and or maybe a dress which has some memories, like this was the first shirt I wore to my office first time, or this was my graduation shirt, things like that. And if that gets stained, then we would be like we'll be afraid of keeping it clean, because we are attached to those material things with some kind of memory and bondage. So that way, the knowledge of everything being temporary helps us, and we being permanent, and that nothing will happen to us, helps us to be fearless. I do see a comment here. Let's see what's it. Okay. Yeah, if you have any comments, please do feel free to type in the chat box or unmute yourself and share anytime. So let's continue to quickly go through some of the other slides we saw. Sky. Sky again teaches art of detachment. Sky is everywhere. It's there everywhere. The space, the sky, the ether is there in inside building, outside building, even within our body. We have spaces which is of ether. And how does it teach the art of detachment? It's the knowledge that what it gives is that Supreme is everywhere, like how sky or ether is everywhere. Every living entity that we have, Supreme is in everyone, and Supreme is constantly giving them the energy so that they can be alive, sustained, and keeps guiding them on what is good for them. Similarly, not just living entities, but even non-living being. So in living being, it's said in wisdom literature that Supreme is like there are two birds in a tree. One bird is enjoying the tree, going around eating the fruits of the tree, and the second bird is just watching the bird go about doing what it needs, whatever it's doing. So like that, Supreme is within us, in our heart, constantly observing and guiding us for our upliftment. So all the living entities, whether we are humans or animals or insects, Supreme is in everyone. Even non-living things, like whether it's sugar or salt or water, the sugar is sweet because the energy of Supreme which has come about, or salt is salty for the same reason, or water always flows because of the potency of Supreme, which makes it flow. So like that, Sky teaches us that whenever we see it, the Supreme is with everyone, giving them guidance and helping them. Next is water. Water teaches us to be pure. So whenever we have to purify something, whether it's vegetable or anything dirty, one of the first thing we do is, clean it with water, and then maybe dry it if required. So like that, spiritualists, whenever they come in contact with others, they purify them through their association. They have refined their consciousness. They have upgraded their consciousness, and they teach them to others when they come in their contact. They tell them what is the right thing to do, and how they themselves live their life, which is helping them to refine their consciousness. And with these teachings, others who come in their contact also get purified. Spiritualists are transparent. This is a tongue twister which was coined. Transcendental teachings of the ancient wisdom are transparently transmitted for our transformation and stop our tribulations. So spiritualists who, given they have nothing to fear and they are in mode of goodness, they share everything transparently. They are well-wishers. So that when we come in contact with them, we feel internal peace, having discussed, met with them. Water gives pleasing sound. Similarly, when spiritualists speak, they speak very nicely. Whenever you speak to some saintly person, you feel uplifted how nicely and sweetly they spoke. And when they do mantra meditation, that's also very soothing. The next element, next teacher, guru, is fire. And fire glows. How does it glow? It glows through various fuel that you give. For example, you put in wood or other oil, Similarly, spiritualists also grow, and their fuel is austerities. So spiritualists, they have a spiritual practice which they do day in, day out, including inner practices like mantra meditation, or external practices like serving others, or even reading wisdom literature. So these practices help them to actually become more. There is an aura. There is whenever you see them, there is an aura around them which is self-effulgent. Similarly, fire is unstoppable when firewood is present. So as long as there is dry wood in the forest, the fire will keep spreading. That's why there are lots of forest fires in summer when all the trees and wood get dry. Similarly, spiritualists, they are also unstoppable or unshakable as long as their spiritual practice is going on, because that's the fuel. As long as they maintain, on a daily basis, they continue to practice all the spiritual activities, they will continue to thrive. Fire burns everything, even contaminated substance. It doesn't distinguish whether you give it oil or you give it plastic or paper or cloth, anything. If it comes in contact with fire, it burns all of them, because that's its dharma or nature. Similarly, transcendentalists are also not affected. Life's ups and downs, other people they come in contact with, they just burn or just ignore anything which comes in their way, and they continue to maintain their steady path of spiritual progress. Fire needs to be handled with care. If you don't, then you'll be burned. Similarly, we should respect and handle transcendentalists with care, because they are the ones who are purifying us. So we should offer them respect, and make sure we inquire very humbly to learn from them, and not commit any offenses with them. Fire sometimes can be concealed and sometimes can be revealed. For example, once like back in India, there are stoves which are made up of clay, and you put in firewood, and once the cooking is done, all the wood is burned to ashes. So it might look like white cold wood, but inside the white cold wood, it might still be hot and burning. And at the same time, when we put in wood, it might again start burning again. So what it means is, similarly, transcendentalists, given they have their spiritual nature, and as they have grown, they don't show off. So they keep things to themselves. They can keep things to themselves, and might look like ordinary people. So they may not show off and brandish the knowledge that they have. So they may be concealing it. At the same time, if somebody comes in contact and are interested in learning about it, they will reveal it to them and share their knowledge. Fire might look like it's constantly glowing. It might look like appearing, disappearing. But similarly, what it teaches us is that even though a flame looks like it's constantly burning, the fire looks like constantly burning, the flame in the fire keeps coming and going, because every flame is new flame. Like that, soul also goes through changing bodies, but it thinks it will remain. It will remain in the body. It thinks that it is eternal. So the point here is the body is constantly changing, and fire teaches us that the changing body is temporary, and we'll have to leave it eventually. The next, so those were the list of gurus which we went through last time, and now we'll go through the next set of gurus, which Avadhuta Brahmana mentioned. Before that, any questions or comments so far? Either on Zoom or online. There are several Haribols on the Facebook. Thank you, everyone. Haribol. No? Okay, so we'll continue to go through the remaining slides. The next is from astro bodies. The first one is moon. And it teaches us that material changes don't affect soul or consciousness or spirit, which is us. For example, the moon goes through waxing and waning cycle. It may be sometimes, as you can see, it might be 10. It may not be seen in the sky. It might be 10%, 50%, 65%, full moon, and then again go back to non-existing. So that is actually just our perception of the moon based on how much sunlight falls on it. So even though moon appears to be waxing and waning, but moon is still the same. It is not changing. The waxing and waning doesn't affect the moon itself. Similarly, when the soul, which goes through from birth to adult, to young, to youth, to adulthood, to old age, and to eventually leaving the body, it goes through all those changes in a body. So the body is changing, but the soul itself, it's not changing. It stays the same. Similarly, the soul goes to different types of body, different types of animals, insects, plants, trees, etc. And they all go through these birth, youth, adult, old age, and death process. But even in those cases, the soul itself, its nature doesn't change. It remains immutable, remains unchangeable. So we can understand that through that cycle. And given its soul is not changing, its value doesn't diminish. So an example is soul is pure, so its value doesn't diminish. Example given is, for example, we have a face mask and we are walking through a street and accidentally the mask falls in maybe the canal or sewage. Then we are not likely going to pick it back because maybe it's few cents, maybe 10, 20, 50 cents or $1 per mask. We will buy another one. But let's say we have a diamond ring and we are walking through the street and it falls in a sewage or a canal. And maybe it was, there's some memory tied to it. Maybe it's an engagement ring, or maybe it was gifted by mother or father. So then it's very precious. I mean, its value in general is high, but it becomes more precious. So even if it falls down, we are not going to just leave it and walk away like what we did with mask. We are more likely to somehow retrieve it, just clean it using water or some other element and use it again because it's very valuable. Like that, soul, even if it falls into this gutter or canal of material existence in this material world, it doesn't become impure. It remains pure even in this material world. And through the process of purification, through process of spiritual upliftment, this the consciousness can be refined so that we can go back to spiritual world. Next teaching which moon teaches us is moon's reflection is not moon. For example, the moon, it might reflect on water body, and if you agitate the water body, it might start shaking. But the reflection is shaking, it doesn't mean the moon itself is shaking. Moon is still the same. Likewise, soul, which is in a body, looks like it's going through lots of changes, but it is not, because soul cannot be burned, or it cannot be moistened, dried up, killed, or cut. It is immutable, though its reflection, which is body, where it is residing, might go through those actions or activities. So that's another lesson that moon teaches. The next is sun. Just take a moment and see if there could be any human interaction. Any thoughts that came up your mind? Any questions or comments so far? Feel free to type in the chat box or just unmute yourself and you can share. No? Okay. So we'll continue to go through the remaining slides. But anytime, if you have anything to share, please just type in chat box. It'd be wonderful to hear from you. Okay, so let's continue with the next set of gurus in the astral bodies. Next is Sun. So Sun teaches us to not have any proprietorship, that nothing belongs to us. So like Sun, it evaporates water from earth, from ocean and rivers and lakes. It evaporates it, but then it doesn't keep it. It returns it back as rain, back to trees and forests and plants and cities and towns and villages, etc. Like that, the transcendentalist or spiritualist, they get several things in this world, but then they don't keep it for themselves. They utilize it in service for others, because they know that their body is temporary and all these material things that they're getting, they are also temporary. And they are not the true proprietor or controller of the material things that they have gotten. Supreme is the proprietor, because everything belongs to the Supreme. He has created this whole world and all the things in this world. With that knowledge, they are able to utilize things in service to others. That's another lesson that Sun teaches us. Another thing is that how several kings have claimed proprietorship of earth. This is my country and I'm expanding my country. This land belongs to me. So several kings have dominated earth, created big empires. And but in the end, when they left their body, they had to leave the kingdom which they acquired. So there is a nice poem in the wisdom literature where it said that all the kings, they claim that this land belongs to me, this earth belongs to me, and earth is smiling at them, saying, there are so many kings who have come, they all say that this earth belongs to me, but then when they die, actually they become one in the earth and they leave the proprietorship. They don't take me with them. So that's another lesson which is taught, that we can't hold on to everything forever. We will have to leave them. Next lesson that Sun teaches us: Sun may reflect on multiple objects, but it is not divided. But Sun is undivided. Its reflection may be seen in water, lakes. It might be seen in mirror, and etc. But Sun is still the same. Sun is still one. So here, the lesson there is that the Supreme might be there in each and every living entity, and not even non-living entity, as the spiritual spark. But it is not divided. Still one. It's not. It's not that we have several Supreme. It's still the same Supreme, which has expanded and is giving energy and power to sustain all these living entities. So that's another lesson that the Sun teaches us. Okay, I think next we have the section on birds. Any observation, any thoughts, any comments on Sun or Moon or anything so far before we go through the next section on birds? No? Okay, let's continue. Okay, let me share. Oh, Linda shared something. I always tell my friends who are far from me that we are never unconnected as we share the same sun and moon. That's very nice. Thanks, Linda, for sharing. That is true. I mean, yeah, we can feel connected, even though we may not be together. Yeah, we can look at sun, moon, the energies of Supreme. So yeah, we can feel connected through them, that we are breathing the same air, which is flowing from us to them, as an example. So yeah, thank you for sharing, Linda. Appreciate it for the interaction. Next, let's see. The next teacher which Avadhuta Brahman mentioned was Pigeon. And Pigeon, he told a story how excessive affection leads to suffering. So the story is about a pigeon and his wife who lived in a forest. So they had created their own sweet small nest and in a very tall tree. And they were happily living together with each other, sharing everything, and going out, gathering food together, visiting different trees and forest areas together, and laughing together, and coming back to the nest and resting together. So they were happily living together in the forest. And then what will happen is the she pigeon would cajole her husband to fulfill her desire. She'll sweetly say, and please go and get me this, get me that, etc. And the pigeon would happily go and fulfill the desires of her lovely wife, his lovely wife. Then one day the female pigeon became pregnant and it laid eggs, and it was beautifully taking care of eggs so that it can give birth to cute little babies. And finally, the day did come where baby pigeons were born from those eggs. And both the pigeon and his wife, they were very happy that they are proud parents now, and they started exchanging love with babies in addition to with each other. So they were happily seeing how they nicely chirp and make noises and different acts the babies do in front of them. They'll go out, gather food for them, and take care of them. So it was another addition of joy in their life, which they were happily enjoying together. And then as they were raising the babies with love, one day they went out to find food and for the baby children, and they couldn't get it quickly. So they had to go far out. They went for some reason. That day they were not able to get the food. So they were flying, going different places to look for food, and they were not still finding it. Meanwhile, a hunter came and he was looking to hunt few animals, and he saw the pigeon's nest, and it caught the baby pigeon using the net. So the pigeons who had gone out hunting, they came back. And when they came back, both of them, pigeon and his wife, were very traumatized. They saw that the babies are caught and they are crying, desperate, trying to free themselves, but it was not possible because the hunter had put a nice, very good net. So as soon as the mother pigeon saw the babies crying, it immediately, its heart became very soft, very weak. It started crying. It didn't see anything. It didn't care for anything. It just ran towards the babies to somehow pacify them. But as it went towards the babies, even the mother pigeon got caught in the net, and it realized its folly that it was caught. Now, the pigeon itself was seeing that all the three, both babies as well as the mother pigeon, they have been caught, and it was realizing that everything that he had is now almost going to go away, because the children and the wife and the home sweet home that everything has built over several days and weeks and months and years is all gone, and it's going to be taken away. And it was very, very morose, very, very sad. And as it was just buried in these thoughts, the hunter saw the pigeon and shot an arrow and killed the pigeon also. So the moral of the story is like the human life we have, we utilize it in gathering material things, in investing our love in material relationships. But finally, death will come and will take away all of material positions, will take away all of material relationships. And we will have no other choice but to give up and move on to our next destination. And it will be it will be foolish if we waste this precious human life and we don't utilize it for spiritual upliftment, but rather waste it in just material entanglement, trying to fulfill all of our sense desires and just run after sensory objects. So that's what a pigeon teaches, not to be excessively entangled, affectionate, because eventually it will lead us to suffering. Next is a lesson from the hawk, drop the mouse, which is don't miss the lesson because you're attached to a specific narrative. The story, story goes like this. A hawk, it caught a mouse and it flew up in the air so that it can go and eat its prey. So as it was flying, it suddenly saw there are two bigger birds which came, and they saw that this hawk has a mouse, and it was going to snatch it and if required even kill the hawk so that they can get the mouse to eat. So now hawk has two choices. It can hold on to the mouse, in which case likely it will be killed because the bigger birds were faster and they were more powerful. Or it can leave the mouse, drop the mouse. Once they drop the mouse, then the big birds will go after the mouse and leave the hawk itself. So likewise, many times in our lives, there are we get so much setbacks, or we build grudges because of some incident which happens, and you hold on to it, and that holds us back, and we are very sad, morose, and we just keep repeating it again and again, and we feel always constantly be state of depression and negativity. So this is what Hawk teaches, that you'll miss the lesson, you will not take the lesson, and you'll just get entangled in the specific narrative. Like how back in another story which is given is a monkey which was looking for some fruits, and it saw a fruit in the pot, and then it put the hand in the pot to get the fruit, but suddenly a man started chasing the monkey. Now the monkey didn't want to leave the fruit, but the fruit was not coming out. It was stuck in the pot. So monkey was dragging the fruit and the pot together, and it was not easy because it was heavy. So monkey was caught. So likewise, if you don't drop the mouse and hold on to grudges or other things, we may miss the lesson and miss the opportunity to purify ourselves. That's the lesson from the hawk. Okay, we covered 2 lessons from the bird. Any thoughts? Any comments? Any questions, anything similar that you have heard or seen which gives similar lessons? You can unmute yourself or just share it in the chat box. No? Okay, let's continue. The next lesson is from the arrow maker, and the lesson is about focus. So the story goes like this. There is an arrow maker who in a small village who was making an arrow, and suddenly a very big parade came. King's parade went by. There are lots of people singing. There are lots of different dance parties who are dancing. There are lots of musical instruments. There are people, doing fire tricks. There are people juggling balls, and so many different sections were there in the parade. And it was a very long parade which was going with lots of noise. And once the parade finished, all the villagers who had gone to see the parade, they came back. And one of the co-worker of the arrow maker asked, "Oh, did you see the parade, the nice parade which just went by?" The arrow maker said, "Which parade? I didn't see anything." "Oh, you didn't see anything? What were you doing?" He said, "I was focused on making this arrow. I was sharpening the arrow, and I didn't want to make any mistakes in sharpening the arrow." So the arrow maker teaches that we should have a focus, very laser-like focus in what is the main thing. And as Vaish says, keep the main thing the main thing. The point is the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And he also brought up what Bruce Lee said, the successful warrior is an average person with laser-like focus. So once you have a laser-like focus, then you can become very, very successful. So likewise, we should keep that the main point or main thing of this human life is to refine our consciousness, and we should make sure that we don't lose focus on that, and we always improving and refining our consciousness with every step of the way. Next is lesson from the ocean: to remain equipoised in loss or gain. So in summer, there are lots of lakes and rivers which dry up, but the ocean remains same. And in winter or in the rainy season, the lakes and rivers, they all are full, and they all go and merge with ocean, but ocean still remains same. It doesn't become big or small. So likewise, same things with the river, where river is always changing. So the point of ocean itself was that we should remain equipoised despite anything which happens to us, good or bad. Just learn the lesson and stay equipoised. And in case of a river, which is always changing, the river doesn't stay same. It's said that you cannot step into a same river twice, because it's always constantly flowing through. Likewise, we should know that the body that we have, it's constantly changing, and we are just passing through it as we refine our consciousness. So towards that, Vayesh had created a very nice video. I thought maybe we can watch that.
In the ancient wisdom text, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that one should remain equipoised. This means to be equal amid polarities. This world is full of polarities. There's heat, there's cold, there's happiness, there's sadness. But Krishna says, learn to stay equal amidst all these polarities. Even in business management today, polarity management has become the hot topic. Practically, most problems are unsolvable. It's not that if you talk about it more, you're going to come to a conclusion. Therefore, the mantra is, manage, don't solve. How do you manage? Look for balance. When there's two sides to an issue, see how you can bridge the issue and find balance between the two. This is one of the great secrets of being happy in life. Now here's a mantra that helps me. Things are never as good as they seem or as bad as they seem. Doesn't that put you right in the middle and help you stay even and focused? In polarity management, we're taught to find the best in every situation and try to avoid the worst extremes in every situation. In this way, people can get along and learn to bridge their problems. Being balanced doesn't mean that you're standing still. When you're trying to balance, you're always pulling from one side or the other back towards the center. Knowing what the center is, what the goal of life is, and being satisfied to manage polarities, to stay in the center and keep moving in life is one of the ways to be happy. Please visit my website, vaisheshikadasa.com.
I really liked this video when I saw it first time. How remaining equipoised doesn't mean that you'll be in a straight line, but you know what your goal of life is. So even if you're pulled one side or the other, you keep coming back to the goal of life. So that's what ocean and river teach us. Next is the lesson from moth, where don't be enchanted by temporary wealth. What you are is more important than what you have. Like moth gets attracted to the flame, to the light, and it just rushes towards it, and in the process is burned to death. Likewise, this life, we might be attracted to so many things to accumulate wealth, etc., but eventually we'll die and leave everything. So we should know that everything that we are running after are temporary, and our refining ourselves is more important than accumulating the temporary wealth. Next is lesson. Next guru is honey badger, and what honey badger teaches is whatever you have is what you have to lose. So think of honey badger. It lets the honeybees go about building the honey hive and collect all the honey. But one fine day, honey badger comes, just takes all the honey away and eats it. Likewise, everything that we accumulate in this life will be taken away by death. That's what the honey badger guru teaches us. Next lesson is from a musk deer, where the story goes like musk deer smelling a very sweet, fragrant smell, and it just goes around looking for where is the smell coming from. It goes through mountains and goes across forest and everywhere, but it's not finding the source from where it's getting the sweet smell, fragrant smell. But finally, it's said in wisdom literature that it actually has, the smell is from its own body, which is, it has a pouch which from where the smell is originating. So it goes from everywhere to look for it, but it's contained within. Likewise, happiness is within us. We become happy or we become sad. That's dependent on our inner consciousness. It is not dependent on external things. So we look for happiness in all the things externally. But if we dive deeper and are self-satisfied, knowing what we are, knowing that we are eternal, having the right knowledge and with good association, then we can be happy with ourselves, within ourselves, and without needing anything from the external sources. And lastly, a quick short video. This is a sweet video. I really liked it because it teaches 3 ways to live life. Vaish shared a story. What are the 3 ways to live life, and what's the best path in that? Let's take a look.
As I mentioned before, there are 3 perspectives of the world. My teacher gave me this analogy many years ago, and I find it very useful carrying it around with me. So he described 3 paths. One is the path of renunciation. Another is the path of enjoyment, and the middle path is the path of service or devotion. So let me describe the 3 using an analogy that he used to give. Let's just say you're standing in line, you see somebody drop a $100 bill on the ground. Okay, so 3 choices. You can pick it up and put it in your pocket. You can just leave it there. Don't even tell them, just walk away. Or you could pick it up, tap the person on the back and say, hey, you dropped this. I'm giving it back. Path of renunciation means a desire causes suffering. Therefore, I'll give up all things and I'll remain aloof from the world. You know, the kind of iconic figure of a yogi sitting in a cave. Although a friend of mine who did live in caves for a little while said sometimes yogis fight over who gets what cave. Sometimes he's even seen in the recent days cell phones up there. So the idea of renouncing the world, walking away from it, I won't touch it, I won't smell it, I won't interact. This is leaving the $100 on the ground. And then the other one, I'm going to pick it up and take it for myself. This is the path of enjoyment. Like this world is just meant for me, and get as much as you can while you can. And this has inherent problems. One of them is that it's not mine. It came from somebody else. And I'm only here temporarily. So the third path is the middle path, and that is, yes, use everything, but for a higher cause. Use it in service. Use things for the welfare of others. Use it for a good cause. Give it back. And so that's the path that's recommended in Bhagavad Gita. Not renouncing, not trying to enjoy it, but actually utilizing it in service.
So that was a sweet message. I always like this, that how there are 3 paths and we have a choice to make, which is the middle path. And as you always know, like even when we are discussing with others, they have their own views, we have our own view, but finding the middle ground is always the one which works best. So Linda shared a comment. One of my favorite quotes is, there is only one happiness in life, to love and be loved. That's very true, Linda. The entire world has been created so that we can exchange love with each other and with Supreme. So thank you so much. That those were some of the, I don't think we covered all the 24 gurus, but at least we covered a good portion of them. So thank you for joining today in keeping the transcendental vibration going. I think next weekend is a long weekend. So we will take a break for the long weekend, but we'll meet after that. And hopefully by the time Vaish is also back. So let's sign off with a big Hari Bol and see you soon. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care. Hari Bol.